Hello everyone, welcome back to this Swayam course, Introduction to Farm Machinery and Implements. In previous model, we talked about status and sources of farm power in India, mechanizations and its merits and limitations, and status of mechanizations. That's all we discussed in 5 lecture series in module number 1. So here in this class, in this lecture, the module number 2 we are going to start, where we are going to discuss about class tillage, its classification, different types of tillage implements, and some of the terminologies related to tillage. The first lecture under this module, that is lecture number 6, will be tillage, type of tillage and its implement. Tillage, it is a mechanical manipulation of soil in order to provide a favorable conditions for the crop production. So whenever we manipulate the soil in order to obtain a good crop production, so that process we called as a tillage. Soil tillage consists of breaking of compact surface of the earth to a certain depth, normally to the depth where the roots can penetrate, and loosen the soil mass so as to enable the roots of the crop to penetrate deep in the soil and spread across the soil. So that is the objective for which the tillage is done. The tillage may be called the practice of modifying the state of the soil in order to provide favorable conditions for plant growth. So the tillage is performed to manipulate the soil mechanically in order to provide a favorable condition for plant to grow. The tillage operation is most labor consuming and difficult operations compared to all other subsequent operations that we perform agriculture for crop production process. So as we seen in one of the previous class, that tillage is the first operations in the seedbed preparation, and seedbed preparation is the very tough and tedious job. It consumes around 20 to 30% of the total energy which we spend throughout the crop production process for any given crop. There are some objectives for tillage. Objectives of tillage are like to obtain deep seedbed suitable for different types of crop. Some crops are shallow rooted crops, some crops are deep rooted crops. So according to the type of crop that we are going to have in our field, tillage is used. For the deep rooted crops, we go with the deep plowing. For shallow rooted crops, we generally perform shallow depth of plowing. So tillage is also required to add manure and humus fertility to the soil by covering the vegetation in the soil. That's how we can add more humus and fertility into it. Tillage is also performed to destroy the weeds and prevents growing of weeds in the field. Tillage is also done to aerate the soil for proper growth of crops. So will do respire through their roots from the soil. If any soil compacted around the plant will prevent the area, and that's how the plant will die. So in order to prevent the crops dying out of improper aeration, the tillage is done. It is also done to increase the water absorption capacity of the soil. Any soil which is loose enough will have more pore spaces. The pore spaces will hold more amount of water, and that's how the absorbing capacity of soil will be increased. Any compacted soil will have less white space, and that's how the low moisture or water it retains. So weeding is also done. Tillage is also done to destroy the insects and pests. Tillage is also done to reduce the soil erosion to certain degree. We can able to reduce soil erosion because of tillage. Over tillage will increases the soil erosion, but if you keep your soil plowed to certain limits, so it will reduce it will check the runoff, and that's how erosion will be minimized or reduced. So these are all the objectives for which the tillage is done or plowing is done. Tillage are broadly classified into 2 classes: primary tillage and secondary tillage. And this 2 tillage is mainly based on the depth of plowing. On the basis of the depth of plowing, we do a tillage perform. Tillage may be primary tillage, or it may be secondary tillage. Primary tillage is the type of tillage where it is performed initially in order to open up the soil at the early stage. It is normally designed to reduce soil strength, to reduce the strength of soil cover plant, and also rearrange the soil aggregates. So these are all the purpose for which the primary tillage is performed. like to initial working up of soil, by reducing the soil strength, by minimizing the plant cover over the surface, and rearranging the aggregates. The operations performed to open up any cultivable land with a view to prepare a seed bed for growing crops is known as primary tillage. At any time, anyone, wherever, he performs the plowing operation in order to prepare the seed bed for growing crops, that is refers to primary tillage. Sometimes the tillage is also done not to grow the crop but to prepare the land for other purposes as well. So whenever we develop a land for any other commercial activities, there also tillage is done. Tillage is done there mainly to loosen the soil to a depth, so to a desired depth, so that the soil may be moved from place to place easily with the help of a scraper, leveler and all. But if we perform the tillage in the view to prepare the seed bed for growing crops, then only it is called as a tillage, and that too a primary tillage. Implements under the primary tillage may be animal drawn type implement, or it may be a tractor drawn type implements. If it is an animal drawn type implement, it includes indigenous plow, mold board plow as a primary implements. So as a primary tillage implement under the animal drawn category, it may be a indigenous plow or it may be a mold board plow. Under the tractor drawn category, the implement may be mold board plow, it may be disc plow, subsoiler, chisel plow, and other type of implement like rotary tiller and all. So they all comes under tractor drawn implements. Secondary tillage implement is the one which is always performed after the primary tillage operations in order to create a proper soil tilt. So here the proper soil tilt refers to the desired condition of soil suitable for particular cropping or particular planting or sowing. Sometimes secondary tillage are used to prepare the land, wetland after primary tillage is done. Sometimes secondary tillage implements are used to prepare dryland seedbed for field croppings. So generally the secondary tillage implements are lighter in weight and they are used to perform finer operations. The finer operations here refers to leveling of land, crushing of clod, collecting of crop residues which were buried in the soil while primary tillage operation was performed, or sometimes to kill the weeds as well. So these operations are performed on the soil after primary tillage operation is done. So secondary tillage consists of conditioning of the soil, as I told you, leveling, packing of soil, crushing of clods, and collection of weeds, and so on. So they all are called as a conditioning of the soil. So conditioning of the soil prior to the sowing of seed. So implement secondary operations are any kind of implements which are used for this lighter operation in order to conditioning the soil are called as secondary tillage implement. They include different types of harrows, cultivators, levelers, clod crushers, and soil scoop and all. So these operations are generally done on the surface of the soil rather than at the deep in the soil. The secondary tillage operations do not cause much soil inversion and they do not shift the soil from one place into the other within the land. These operations consume less power per unit area, and that's how it makes difference with the primary tillage implement. So if you want to differentiate between primary tillage and secondary tillage implement, this is how you can differentiate. Like primary tillage implements, they go deeper in the soil, they provide more inversion of soil, their energy consumption is more, they are heavier in weight, and their size is also big. When it comes to the secondary tillage implements, they are used for shallow depth of working. They do not give most of the time the inversion. They don't give. They are performed to prepare the final stage of soil, but primary tillages are used at initial stage. Energy requirement per work output is low in case of secondary tillage implement, whereas in primary tillage it is high, and that's how you differentiate. There are some objectives behind performing the secondary tillage operations. The first objective is to pulverize the soil and seed bed in the field, destroy the grasses and weeds grown in the field after primary tillage operations are done, to cut the crop residues and mix them with the top layer of the soil so that they may serve as a soil cover, to break the big clods, and to make the field more uniform and level. And these are all the purpose for which the secondary tillage operations are done. Second tillage implements, it may be a tractor drawn implement or it may be a bullock drawn implements. Tractor drawn implements comes under secondary tillage implements are like harrows, cultivators, hoes, etc. These are all the secondary tillage implements. So any implements used for secondary tillage operations are secondary tillage implement, and any implements used for primary tillage operations are called as primary tillage implements. Other than that, the broad category of classifying tillage into primary and secondary. So there is another classification, or you can also categorize tillage, the type of tillage, into minimum tillage, strip tillage, rotary tillage, mulch tillage, and combined tillage. All these 5 type of tillages are often called as conservation tillage. So minimum tillage, it comes with its own definition. It means it is the minimum manipulation of soil which is essentially required to meet the requirement of crop production. So sometime what happens, we keep plowing the land twice, thrice, fourth time before we go for sowing or planting the seedlings. Here the minimum tillage refers to having 1 or 2 plowing and thereafter immediately going for sowing. So there we here the perform the tillage just to achieve the minimum requirement of the field condition suitable for crop production. That we call as a minimum tillage. So minimum tillage saves energy. It allows users to go with the planting and sowing in shorter period of time, and it saves energy and time as well. There is another type of tillage which we call as a strip tillage. Strip tillage is the system in which any isolated lands of soil is tilled. So strip tillage, as its name suggests, the plowing is done in strips, not whole land is plowed. Instead of plowing whole land, only strip of land is plowed, and in that plowed strip the seed will be sown. Again, this is also comes under conservation agriculture or conservation tillage, where we are going to conserve the residual moisture in the soil by not disturbing it. So only area where the seed will be sown will be plowed with the help of mechanical devices like rotary plow or any other such suitable devices, equipment or machine, and in that plowed strip the seed will be sown. So there also it conserves energy, it conserves time. At the same time, it helps to minimize the moisture loss may occur from the plowed land by preventing the plowing whole land. So another one is the rotary tillage. Rotary tillage is a different type of tillage where it uses a rotary action to cut the soil, break the soil mass, and mix those soil and pulverize them. So here it comes with the rotor. Rotors have number of blades which are arranged in such a manner over the flanges, and they will cut the individual scoop of soil. Individual blade will cut and they will throw against the board within the implement, and that's how it provides more pulverization. So rotary tillage are accepted because in one rotary operations the kind of tilt we are going to get is equivalent to 2 to 3 plowing operations, and that's why here also we put this type of tillage under conservation tillage also. Another one is a mulch tillage. So mulch is nothing but laying of crop residues over the surface of the soil, top surface of the soil. So in this tillage, the preparation of soil will be done in such a way that the crop residues of a previous crop will be laid over the surface of the soil. Doing so, we can make it like a mulch that prevent the evaporation of soil out of the field, and at the same time it will prevent the growth of weeds as well. So that's how it reduces the water demand of that land, reducing evaporation, and it also prevent weeds from growing, and that's how it helps to conserve moisture. The combined tillage is a special type of tillage implement, not much popular in Indian agriculture scenario. So as its name suggests, the combined of tillage is nothing but having 2 type of tillage implements in a single frame. So as it is dragged or pulled over the field, it performs 2 operations in a one pass. The combination may be like having MB plow at the front and cultivator at the rear, having disc blow at the front and cultipackers at the rear. Like that, more than one type of implements are framed in a single unit, framed in such a way that they look like a single unit, but they perform two operations in a one pass. So that's why it is called as the combined tillage. So this is how you can also classify the types of tillages. So these are all need based. So basic type of tillages are primary tillage and secondary tillage. So tillage is performed by using tool, an implements, or a machine. The tool is nothing but an individual working element. It may be a disc of disc plow, shovels of a cultivator, like that. So any individual working element are referred as a tool. Similarly, there is a term called implement. Implement is an equipment generally having no driven moving parts, and for example for them is an harrow. So harrow has a rotating part, but it is not given with the drive, and that's how such plows, there also there is no moving part, no driven parts, and that's how they comes under implements. At the same time, there is another term called machine. So definition of machine: so machine is a combinations of rigid and resistant bodies which are having definite motion, and they are capable of performing useful work. So here it will have a tool, it will have an implement. They all combined in such a way that they have a definite motion. They may be rigid kind of bodies, they may be resistant type of bodies, and they all combined together will perform a useful work. So if I give an example for the machine, the rotavator is a machine, because rotavator has a gearbox, it has a rotor over which there are flanges, it has a blades, it has a safety devices. They all, some are driven, some are non-driven type, and they all perform useful work when they work together. And such kind of equipments, such kind of units are called as devices are called as machines. So types of tractor-drawn implements. Tractor-drawn implements are generally referred as a high working capacity kind of implements. They are capable of working at higher speeds as well, and these implements need more technical knowledge in order to operate them and keep their maintenance under optimum condition. So these are all some of the requirement and features of a tractor-drawn implement. So tractor-drawn implements, they come with high working capacity, and they are capable of working at higher speed, and they do require more technical knowledge for their operations and maintenance. Tractor-drawn implements are again classified into trailer type, semi-mounted type, and mounted type. Trailer type implements are those which are pulled and guided by a single hitch point by the tractor, and they are not supported by the tractor. If I give an example for it, the trailer type tractors are tractor trolley. That is the best example. The tractor trolley is pulled by a tractor by a single hitch point, and it is guided by the tractor, but it is not supported by the tractor. So the trolley carries its own weight on its axles. Part of its weight will be transferred into the tractor, into the engines, but most of the cases it carries its own weight. And such kind of attaching implements into the tractors are called as trailer type of implement. There are many trailer type of implements which you can find in YouTubes and other social medias, where the large number of plows are attached in such a way to the common frame, and they comes with their own wheel to carry their weight, but they uses a tractor engine as a source of power. As the tractor pulls, they start plowing, and as the tractor stops, they stop moving over the soil. And for lifting them and lowering them or raising them out of the field or into the ground will takes place by remotely controlled hydraulic system, which is there within the frame of the implement, attached implement. That kind of implements are called as a trailer type of implement. So the another two categories of tractor drawn implements are semi-mounted type implements and mounted type implements. In case of semi-mounted type implements, as its name suggests here, it is a semi-mounted type. It is neither mounted nor trailed. So it falls between mounted type and trailer type implements. So this type of implement is the one which is attached to the tractor along the hinge axis and not at a single hitch point. In that way, it is not a trailer type, but it is controlled directly by the tractor steering, but it is not supported by the tractor, and that's how it becomes semi-mounted. So it is not guided by single hitch axis, single hitch point, and therefore it is not a trailed one, and it is not supported by the tractor while it is carrying out of the field, and that's why it is not a mounted type. So therefore it is called as a semi mounted type implement. So there are some machines, equipment, implements which comes under semi mounted type. They may be having a plow bottom more than 4, where the tractor cannot carry its whole weight, at least when it is off the ground, and it may respond directly to the tractor steering while it is working in the field. So such kind of implements are called as semi mounted type implement. So when it comes to the mounted type implement, a mounted type implement is the one which is attached to the tractor with the help of 3-point hitch mechanism, and it can be controlled directly by the tractor steering, and it can be carried out of the ground, or it may be lifted up out of the ground completely when it is not in work or when it is not in use. Like if you want to take that implement from farm shed to the field, from field to the farm shed, you can carry that attached implement by tractor itself. It does not require any wheels, separate wheels, or its own implement's own wheel to carry such implements. So that kind of equipments are called as mounted type of implements, or mounted type of equipments we call it. So in India, most of the farm implements, agricultural machines, particularly those which are attached to the tractors, are mounted type implement only. It may be MB plow, it may be disc plow, it may be chisel plow, subsoiler, it may be a harrows, particularly in the harrow, offset harrow, tandem disc harrow, then rotavator. They are all are example for the mounted type implement, where the tractor can able to lift it up off the ground and carry it by tractor itself while it is moving. So whereas in case of semi mounted, implement may lift it up, but it can't carry the implement's whole weight. Whereas in the trailer type implement, the tractor cannot lift it up by its own. For that, it uses a remotely operated hydraulic system, and that's how you can classify the tractor drawn implements. These are all some of the readings you may go through for further informations. Thank you all.